Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Woody with Woody's MTG here. I know yesterday I put out a video that was maybe a little bit of doom and gloom, so today we're going to take a look at something I think is potentially an excellent opportunity within the Magic the Gathering space. So we're going to take a look at that right now, and we're going to get into it and show you some opportunities. So, as you may or may not know, as of February 9th, WotC announced a new Commander Banned and Restricted update. Obviously, Biorhythm's unbanned, Lutry's unbanned, Sundering Titans and questions, but this is kind of where it gets important. Additionally, there are 3 other cards we discussed quite heavily. These cards are not being unbanned today, but we welcome your feedback on whether you think they should be unbanned in the future. One of those is Sundering Titan. I haven't looked a ton into Sundering Titan. Honestly, though, this is kind of a Timmy card. Pretty high mana value here. It is a big effect, but when I say not a huge effect, I mean not CDH viable. Nothing viable in brackets 4 or 5. And the effect being land denial, it's not going to be very welcome in bracket 3. If even able to be played in bracket 3. Where it gets interesting though is Iona. Iona, Shield of Emeria. It's an exciting expensive angel with a splashy effect, and they even call out the combo with Painter's Servant. This is actually strong enough, I think, to be viable in bracket 4, and that's where you would see a lot of this. And then of course we also have the Big Daddy Griselbrand. Griselbrand would be huge. And they even say that. The card is a tremendous risk, giving people access to this game-winning draw engine. So why even consider it? Because it's freaking sweet, man, and people love this card. It's worked its way into pretty much every format it's legal in and is a ton of fun to play. The games with this can be such a rush. In fact, it's so exciting that I've had to tell multiple people that they have to remove it from their commander decks because it's banned, much to their immediate disappointment. I think this is the big one. This is the big one. And what I plan on doing with this channel is, most of the time when I'm calling out picks, it's because I bought them. And I will be showing you the cards I purchase in my videos. So, with that being said, let's jump over to the TCG player and see what's going on with Griselbrand. Alright, so here we have Griselbrand. Avacyn restored the original printing in foil. I'm specifically looking at LP and near mint. That's light play and near mint. And that is exactly what I have here. I did pick up 2 copies. I don't have the room to pick up more right now with a lot going on, but I figured 2 near mint copies of Griselbrand, original printing foil, can't hurt. And let's go through why. So if we look, wow, near mint foils are already up to $70. So that's something to bear in mind. First and foremost, there is not very much supply. This is obviously a fake listing. We can ignore this. There is not very much supply of this card. We've got 4 near mint listings before it jumps up another $30 per copy. And then of the light plays, even that's starting to dry up pretty quick. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies on here, right? Of light plays in general, period. And if we look at our chart for our 1-year mark here, we can see that when it was announced, it was sitting at about $27 for a lightly played foil. 10 of them sold, and since then a few have sold, but from $27 on announcement, 26, let's say, right before, that's $26.94, that's 27, right? We're up to 37. To me, them even discussing this as a possibility of being unbanned, when this is unbanned, and I do think that the way they discussed it in that article, it is a matter of when, not if. When this is unbanned and moved to the Game Changers list, first of all, you're not going to see, this is all going to be gone. Like this whole list, besides this fake one, is going to be gone. Second, besides maybe this one right here, this $250 one. That'll probably still be there, right? But this will immediately become a $100 card overnight, literally overnight. I could absolutely see it going higher. We do have some other printings to look at here that kind of show that multiplier. Now this is a little bit of a higher jumping in price point, a little bit higher price point. So let's take a look at something that might be a little bit on the lower end. Here we have the Modern Masters 2017, as well as the Innistrad Remastered. This is the graph I was expecting to see for our Avacyn restored foil. A huge spike. I mean, this thing was chilling at $3-4. Now we're up to $6-7, right? So it doubled. It doubled in price, which makes sense to me with just the speculation on this. That being said, I do still think there's room for this card to grow. There are, where's our quantity here? 160 of them on here. That's going to be between foil and non-foil, so that is a little bit higher supply. But again, if this card gets removed, it's probably going to double again. When this card comes off the list, it's going to make this look like nothing. I mean, people are just going to be clamoring to get a hold of these. Then we have, like I said, our Modern Masters. This one's really interesting because this one hasn't moved. So it was about $8-9. It's still about $8-9. I think that makes this an excellent buy, considering it literally is just a printing that hasn't moved at all since that announcement. If we go to foils, let's look at our foil graph here. Foils, same thing, the graph hasn't really moved. There really just hasn't been that many of this copy specifically being purchased. There's 149 of between the foils and non-foils. And for the foils specifically, we have 26 listings. So if you look here, there's 5 of them. That's moderately played. Hold on. Still lightly played. 22 listings. I mean, you got one page at about $10-11. And then you're pretty much jumping up straight to about $15, right? And you can see these aren't cards people have 10, 20, 30, 40 of listed at least. And they're just not going to be cards that they have 10, 20, 30 of sitting around. Modern Masters 17 is from 2017. This set is getting old. There's not going to be piles of this stuff sitting around for people to just start listing back into the market. There will be, after this thing spikes, after that announcement, it's going to get bought up, it's going to spike, and what always happens, people realize, oh, I need to go dig through my MM17 bulk box, like one of the bulk boxes I have right back here, boop, that's like M13, so trust me, there are people with it, but that's going to be after the spike, right? And you're going to be having this available, have it in your mind, you're going to have it available, and you're going to be able to list it right away. You don't got to go find it. And this is an example of one that did spike heavily. This showcase right here, which I do think is one of, if not the best printing of the card, other than for me personally, having been playing this game a long time, I'm obviously a fan of OG prints. So for me, this is the best version. That's why I bought it. But that being said, we do still have this really great, just beautiful showcase here, even in non-foil. So we were, prior to that announcement, we were looking at $6-7, and now we're sitting at like 20, right? So this thing tripled in price. And this is off of the hype of the announcement that they might unban it. So, and this thing has a lot more quantity. This thing is a lot more plentiful, harder to pull, but a lot more plentiful because it is from a really new set. If we look at the foil screen here, same thing. The foil was $9, and now we're up at 45. So this is an example. I'm showing this one because this is not something I would buy. I mean, maybe if it is your favorite art and you do plan on playing with it, if it gets unbanned, do buy it now, absolutely. But I'm talking more from a trying to get in low, to just kind of build your collection, build the value of your collection so that you can put it towards trades for cards you actually want, turn around and sell it on TCG Player as a seller, things like that, right? At this point, I do think the boat's been missed on this. In fact, we could probably see it come down quite a bit because it did already go through its 5x. So, and I don't think it's that rare. But still 58 listings. So that one I'd hold off on. Now let's take a look at my pick for Iona, which is actually not Iona. It is Painter's Servant. This is the Masterpiece version. That is what we will be discussing first, and we'll be looking at the other copies as well. All right, so here we have Painter's Servant Masterpiece series. These cards, these Masterpiece cards, incredibly hard to come by, and not a huge amount of supply out there. This one is unlikely to be reprinted. We have seen this frame be reprinted, but the exact foiling that is on them, where it's kind of like a cross between a From the Vault and a gilded in a way, I don't think we're going to see reprinted. So let's take a look here at this graph. Again, since the announcement, no movement. Nothing's really changed, nothing jumping out to me. For some reason, back in March of last year, a bunch of them sold, probably because it was just underpriced and it was at $150 for a potentially future useful Masterpiece, which again is really, this is useful if Iona gets unbanned. So in fact, we're actually on a downward trend for this card. So from a fundamentals perspective, this is a great time to pick it up anyways. And with the announcement of the potential of Iona being unbanned, I do think this is a great entry point for this card. They're all very tight, very close in pricing. We have a bunch of them right at the $200 mark. Let's get rid of the MPs. So we do have a bunch of them right at the $200 mark, and they slowly go up from there to $215, $220, $225, $230, And again, this is going to be one of those cards where there's just not a lot of them on the market. There's a lot of listings here, right? 31 listings, that is a healthy amount of listings. So this isn't something where it's like, that Griselbrand Avacyn Restored, where if you had, let's just call it up to here, that's 240, about $450, $400, you could just buy them out and they're gone, up to $100. So it's not something like that where scarcity's as much of going to be a driving force here, rather just that it is a good time to buy. This is just a good time to pick up this card. If Iona gets unbanned, this version of this card is going to skyrocket. So let's go look really quick over at the Shadowmoor version. This is the OG printing. We have heavily played here for $50. A heavily played non-foil OG print is about a quarter of the cost of this near mint blinged out foil version. To me, that doesn't really make sense. So if we look at the foil on this, I'm sure it's crazy because Shadowmoor and Lorwyn foils are always crazy. And we do see that this thing's been climbing consistently, just in general. This is just a card that's on the uptrend right now. That kind of tells me I'd be a little bit more weary of buying these. However, again, with these OG foils, you do get the benefit of not very many of them. Especially if we look at near mint, there's 8 of them, starting at 131. And if we go to LP, there's 17. I believe that, that's including the near mint. So that's 9 LPs, right? Listings, of course. So, and then there's 2 listings with 2. So you've got 10, 11 of these. For the OGs, I'd be a little bit more weary, just based on this graph. This could start seeing a retrace, and I don't think they're going to be unbanning these cards anytime soon. I could be wrong about that. I don't think so. And let's go look at the last thing here, which is the Judge promo. The Judge promo version of the card, same thing. And this is another reason why, I don't like recommending this graph when there's a card with this graph, right? Not to say the graphs are everything. They're not. However, much better to buy anything on the downtrend than on the uptrend. So we have the Judge promo here. This card is currently, I mean, it started, it pulled it out of this dip here. That announcement was right about here when the announcement was made. So it did kind of pull it out of that. And you do see, I mean, to me, that's not a crazy change in sales volume. It does look like just normal player-driven sales volume. We've got 31 listings for this card. One of them's heavy play. Get that out of here. Damage, get that out of here. Damage, get that out of here. I like shopping around light play to near mint for a lot of these cards. Some people are going to be near mint only people. That's totally fine. I think this Painter's Servant, yeah, it was LP. I did pick this one up LP. And for me, these are eye clean. The thing you gotta know about TCG Player, especially with these high-end cards, as a TCG Player seller, I am going to mark all of my foils LP. The TCG Player guidelines for near mint foils are so strict that basically any MTG foil, the buyer can make an argument for, hey, you misgraded this. I found a tiny piece of clouding in the bottom left corner of the text box. It's LP. And then you've got to refund some, right? And or it's not just blame the buyer. Maybe they are just genuinely unhappy. Maybe they were expecting perfection, right? PSA 10, that's what they were expecting. They were expecting to buy this card, ship it to PSA, get a 10. And they're disappointed. And then you have to refund a portion of it, keep your clients happy. So personally, I'm okay with buying LP foils. Totally up to you, because to me, this thing is near mint. I mean, there's literally nothing wrong with it anywhere at all, and I do have a jeweler's loop, and I inspect the foiling for hazing and stuff like that with my jeweler's loop, and I can't find anything wrong with it. That being said, if I was listing on TCG Player, I would still list it as LP. If I'm listing it on eBay or something along those lines, maybe I'd just send it into PSA first. I do think it would actually get, pretty high grade. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm stupid. Anyways, where were we? Yeah, so the Painter's Servant Judge promos. Scarcity is going to be a factor with these. That being said, they weren't from a mainline set, so they are going to be a little bit less known. People might not know that this Judge promo exists, and that could be why, we just don't see this. We don't see this graph in the same way, like we do with the Shadowmoor, right? And then it could be the same thing with the Masterpiece, though most people are aware of the Masterpiece series. They were like, the case hit, the high-end chase cards from Kaladesh. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up what we're talking about today. If you found any of this information to be helpful, informative, you think you're going to go out and buy these cards, please feel free to drop a like, hit subscribe. Leave me a comment and let me know. Seriously, I do check all the comments on here. I plan on being a lot more active on YouTube going forward. If you pick up, your Masterpiece or your OG foil Griselbrands, or you pick up, whether it's that or you go in and you want something that's just a little bit more affordable. You're coming in, you're grabbing just a non-foil Innistrad Remastered or Modern Masters 17 foil. Whatever you're grabbing, let me know. Let me know if this was helpful at all, and I will catch you guys next time.